Chapter 163 to 164. That was a powerful demon. As for who that guy was, I honestly don't know. I've never seen him before, the old Supreme Kai said, his expression serious. Before he was sealed, the old Supreme Kai had never encountered the demon who had sealed him away. That being carried an immense and terrifying demonic energy that far surpassed the Supreme Kai's power, even at his peak. The demon easily overpowered him and imprisoned him in the Z-Sword for what seemed like an eternity. After being freed by Gohan and Goku, the old Supreme Kai had never seen or heard from that demon again. Perhaps the demon had vanished entirely from the universe. After all, it had been tens of millions of years since he had been sealed. A demon? Goten repeated, surprised by the revelation. In the original Dragon Ball timeline, Majin Buu was the only major enemy tied to demonic power. Another possibility could be Moro, who was known for his destructive magical abilities and had been imprisoned by the Galactic Patrol. Majin Buu could be ruled out since the old Supreme Kai had never encountered him. This left the possibility that the demon responsible for sealing the old Supreme Kai might have been Moro. If that were true, then what had happened to Moro after sealing the old Supreme Kai? Perhaps his magical powers were suppressed, and he was later captured and imprisoned by the Galactic Patrol. No one could say for certain. Yes, the old Supreme Kai confirmed with a firm nod. It was a demon. That much I know. He spoke with conviction, having no reason to hide the truth. The stranger standing before him, the powerful Goten, clearly knew about the old Supreme Kai's past imprisonment. It was possible that Goten knew even more about the demon than he did. "All right, if that's the case, I'll leave it at that," Goten said, his tone calm and composed. "You don't have to worry. I don't pose any threat to this universe. In fact, I'll do my best to protect it in the future." His assurance was directed at Kibito Kai and the old Supreme Kai, who still looked uneasy. Goten saw potential in this universe, a dimension where Zeno and the Grand Priest did not exist. It could serve as the perfect foundation for his plans. Okay, Kibito Kai stammered, nodding quickly in agreement. The old Supreme Kai, however, remained cautious. His years of experience had taught him not to trust strangers too easily, especially those as powerful as Goten. With that, Goten left the sacred world of the Kai with Vados, and the two headed toward the Galactic Patrol headquarters. Their objective? To confirm whether Moro was imprisoned there. Although Moro had been a formidable enemy in the past, his strength and unique magic could potentially be useful. Goten thought that if he could bring Moro under his command, it might benefit him in the future. Additionally, he was curious about the strange magical energy Moro possessed, which he believed might hold valuable insights. To his disappointment, Moro was nowhere to be found at the Galactic Patrol headquarters. The only prisoners held there were minor criminals with insignificant power. It was clear that the Galactic Patrol was incapable of containing someone as powerful as Moro, much less individuals like Bojack or other major threats. Realizing his search had yielded no results, Goten returned to Earth with Vados. "What's going on? How can this universe not have a Lord Zeno or a Grand Priest? It's hard to believe," Vados exclaimed, still trying to process the bizarre reality of this timeline. For her, it was nearly inconceivable for a universe to function without Zeno or the Grand Priest overseeing its balance. The absence of gods of destruction and angels only made it stranger. "Isn't that better?" Goten said, flashing a sly smile. This universe, free of Zeno and the Grand Priest, was ideal for Goten's plans. He knew that in other dimensions, those higher-tier gods posed a significant threat to his ambitions. With his current strength, challenging Zeno or the Grand Priest directly was an impossible task. Here, however, he could grow stronger without the constant fear of being discovered or stopped. "What do you mean, Lord Goten? Are you saying you don't plan to return to our timeline?" Vados asked, realizing the implications of his words. I never said that, Goten replied, his smile unwavering. We will return eventually, but not now. For the time being, I want to focus on increasing my strength. As someone with a status second only to the Grand Priest, my power should reflect that. Don't you agree? With those words, Goten headed toward the villa, leaving Vados to ponder his growing ambition. Time passed quickly. On Earth, Goku and Vegeta were training harder than ever. The appearance of their GT counterparts had reignited their drive to become stronger. Goten, meanwhile, spent most of his time meditating. His current training was no longer about combat techniques or battle experience. Instead, he was focused on transforming his immense power into something akin to the energy of laws. If he could succeed in comprehending and mastering the power of laws, his strength would increase exponentially. This newfound strength would be essential. One day, he might have to face Zeno or the Grand Priest, and when that day came, he intended to be ready. However, comprehending the power of new laws was no easy task. Even with his mastery over advanced destruction energy and the power of Murno, the process was painstakingly slow. While Goten meditated, Goku and Vegeta continued their rigorous training. The two Bulmas, along with Android 21, teamed up to create a gravity chamber capable of withstanding 100,000 times Earth's gravity. The combined efforts of these three geniuses resulted in a chamber so durable that even Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta struggled to cause damage to it. This innovation allowed for intense training sessions without fear of destroying their surroundings. Inside the gravity chamber, the gravity was set to 5,000 times Earth's normal gravity. The two Gokus and the two Vegetas trained without using any of their Super Saiyan transformations. They understood that all Saiyan transformations were ultimately dependent on their base combat strength. By strengthening their base power, their transformations would naturally become even more powerful. Ah! Kakarot! This time I'll definitely surpass you! GT Vegeta shouted as he sparred with his counterpart. Ha! We'll see about that, Vegeta! Goku replied, pushing himself to his limits. As the four Saiyans pushed their bodies and minds to the brink, their fierce battle was suddenly interrupted. Out of nowhere, a powerful ki flashed through their senses, like a bolt of lightning piercing the depths of their consciousness. After sensing the incredibly powerful aura, Goku and Vegeta immediately halted their training. Nearby, Krillin and Trunks became highly alert. The immense aura they felt wasn't just powerful, it was steeped in malice. In an instant, everyone realized the truth. An enemy had arrived. Vegeta, do you feel it? There's a very powerful and evil aura, Goku said, addressing GT Goku and GT Vegeta. Of course I feel it, but there's more than one aura, GT Vegeta replied in a serious tone. It seems like there are others with them. One of the auras stands out, but there are others as well. The Earth had only been at peace for 4 short months. And now a new, powerful threat had emerged. What was worse, this enemy's strength far exceeded their own, making victory uncertain. What should we do now? Trunks asked nervously. Should we tell Goten about this? The aura they had sensed filled him with a deep sense of unease, and he doubted they could handle the opponents on their own. Not yet, Krillin said firmly. The battle hasn't started. And remember, Goten told us not to disturb him unless it's something extremely important. Right now, every second of his training matters. Krillin understood that Goten was preparing for far more dangerous opponents, ones whose power surpassed anything they could imagine. For now, it was up to them to handle this situation. If they failed, Goten would step in when necessary. I agree, Trunks nodded, his determination solidifying. A difficult battle was clearly ahead of them, but they had to give it their all. Without another word, Goku and Vegeta rushed out of the gravity chamber. Communication was unnecessary. Everyone had already felt the aura. Now it was time to put their 4 months of training to the test. After a moment of silent agreement, they all raced toward the source of the aura. Whoosh, whoosh! Several silver streaks cut through the air as they moved at lightning speed. In no time, they arrived at a barren area where the sinister aura was growing stronger and closer with each passing moment. As they approached, Goku and the others began to sense additional presences. While not as overwhelming as the first aura, the other energies were undeniably formidable. "It looks like you were right, Vegeta," GT Goku said grimly. "There are several powerful auras, and these guys are clearly hiding their true strength. Everyone, get ready. This is going to be a tough fight." The most prominent aura belonged to someone who didn't yet know how to suppress their energy, making them easy to detect. The others, however, were deliberately masking their power. This deliberate control only made them more dangerous. Everyone nodded in agreement, their faces tense with determination. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sharp sound broke through the air, and 7 figures appeared before Goku and the others. Among the 7, several familiar faces stood out immediately. Broly! That guy is Broly! Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan exclaimed in unison, their expressions filled with shock and disbelief. Standing before them was none other than Broly, the legendary Super Saiyan who had been killed by Goten. Broly's strength was monstrous, his Saiyan bloodline granting him the unique ability to grow stronger as a fight dragged on. It was his aura that had radiated with such devastating power earlier. TN, I will tag his name as Z Broly. When Z Broly's gaze fell on Goku and the others, a bloodthirsty grin spread across his face. "Kakarot," he growled, his voice low and demonic. His piercing eyes locked onto both Goku's, radiating pure hostility. Zamasu, Trunks stammered, his voice trembling with anger and shock. "That bastard!" Standing among the 7 was a figure Trunks would never forget. Zamasu, or Black Goku, the very villain who had destroyed the future Earth in his timeline and plunged the world into chaos. "How is this possible?" Trunks shouted. "Wasn't this guy completely destroyed by Goten using destruction energy? How can he be alive?" Trunks remembered Goten explaining how destruction energy worked. It obliterated a being so completely that even their soul was erased. Yet here Zamasu was, standing before them with a smug grin on his face. Meanwhile, GT Goku was staring at another figure, a Saiyan who looked eerily familiar. "Vegeta, doesn't that guy look just like you?" he asked, tilting his head. "Though his hair looks a bit like my brother Raditz's. Could he be your brother?" "Stop joking around, Kakarot," GT Vegeta snapped, his tone cold. "I only have a good-for-nothing younger brother. I've never had an older one. That guy just looks like me. Or maybe he's some kind of clone." GT Vegeta's sharp eyes narrowed as he studied the Saiyan in question. The man grinned back, his expression just as cold and menacing. "Okay, I don't know who these guys are or how they got here, but one thing's clear. This battle is going to be brutal," GT Goku said, his tone serious. The 7 figures standing before them weren't ordinary fighters. Each of them radiated an overwhelming power, and the energy coursing through their bodies hinted at their destructive potential. "Those 3 Saiyans and Zamasu are already more than enough trouble," Krillin muttered, frowning deeply. "But the other 3, they feel even more dangerous. They're probably the ones pulling the strings behind all of this." Krillin's voice reflected the unease he felt. Even though his strength was now comparable to Super Saiyan 4 Trunks, the oppressive presence of their enemies made him doubt his chances. TN, 7 enemies are... Spoiler comment section. At this moment, GT Goku suddenly stepped forward. With a serious expression, he looked at Z Broly and the others and asked, "Hey, who are you guys? What's the purpose of coming to Earth?" The others also clenched their fists tightly. They knew a violent battle was imminent, and the enemies before them were undeniably powerful. To defeat them would be extremely difficult if Goten didn't show up. Despite this, none of the warriors present showed even the slightest hint of fear. "Kakarot!" Ha ha ha! Kakarot! When Z Broly saw Goku, his face instantly twisted into a ferocious grin. It was clear that no matter which timeline it was, Z Broly harbored an intense hatred for Goku. Why does that guy keep shouting my name? I don't remember having any connection with him, Goku muttered, frowning as he stared at Broly's menacing expression. However, GT Goku, standing beside him, understood the situation clearly. From Paragas's previous explanations, he knew that Z Broly and Goku were born on the same day. Z Broly, who had been sleeping peacefully, was disturbed by Goku's crying as a newborn. This disturbance had planted a deep resentment within Z Broly, intertwining their fates from the very beginning. It was a strange grudge that seemed absurd to Goku, though. Who remembers something from the day they were born, he thought. But Z Broly was an anomaly, a miracle in a way. He could hold on to that memory and resentment for such a long time. Hello, warriors of Earth. Suddenly, the silver-haired boy standing in the middle stepped forward and spoke. His voice carried a sinister authority. My name is Marcus. The purpose of our visit to Earth is simple: to kill you with our own hands and then rule this entire dimension. He continued, his tone calm yet filled with malice. After gathering information, we learned that you seem to be the strongest fighters in this dimension. So, if you resist, it'll make things all the more entertaining for us. I'll be looking forward to seeing what you can do. Marcus's appearance was chilling. He had silver hair, black eyes with red pupils, and wore a tight black combat uniform. His aura was overwhelmingly evil, and it was clear he was the leader of the group, the one who held absolute authority. TN. I don't know who this guy is, so I left his name as it is. It's definitely not Fu. He's some OC from Dark Demon Realm. Ha! Stop spewing nonsense, GT Vegeta retorted without hesitation. There's no denying your strength, but don't think killing us will be that easy. It was true that the 7 enemies standing before them were immensely powerful. But the warriors of Earth were no pushovers, and Goten, the strongest among them, had yet to arrive. Once Goten joined the fray, defeating these intruders would be far from impossible. Is that so? Marcus sneered. His wicked smile grew wider as he spoke in a flat, mocking tone. It seems you mortals lack a clear understanding of your own limits. Stupidity always comes with a terrible price. His words sent a chill through the air, but Marcus remained composed. To him, these so-called fighters were nothing more than insects, not worth taking seriously. Lord Marcus is absolutely correct, another voice chimed in. The voice belonged to Zamasu, whose hatred for mortals was well known. Mortals are always so filthy and despicable, Zamasu declared with disdain. When these stupid insects are finally wiped out, the world will become a more beautiful place. Only then will the paradise Lord Marcus envisions become a reality. Hearing Marcus and Zamasu's words, one of their companions frowned slightly, his expression revealing discomfort. If Goten had been present, he would have recognized this individual immediately. With an X-shaped scar across his chest, red gloves, and an orange visor with white frames, the man standing beside them was none other than Hearts, the mortal who had once sought to overthrow Zeno in Super Dragon Ball Heroes. Hearts' ultimate goal had been to free all mortals from the control of gods. Naturally, hearing Marcus and Zamasu speak about wiping out mortals made him uneasy. After all, he was a mortal himself, and he sympathized deeply with mortals. "Shut your damn mouth, Zamasu," Trunks suddenly shouted, his anger boiling over. "I don't know if it was you who Goten destroyed last time, but today I'll make sure you're erased from this world completely." Trunks' hatred for Zamasu was immeasurable. He had seen countless mortals in his timeline perish because of Zamasu, and now that he had the chance, he was determined to avenge them all. "How bold of you, you lowly Saiyan," Zamasu sneered. "You've died at my hands in another timeline, and this one will be no different, but this time I'll make sure you don't die so easily." As Zamasu's bloodthirsty grin widened, an unexpected roar erupted. Kakarot! Z Broly roared furiously, his massive body suddenly lunging forward. In an instant, he appeared in front of GT Goku, his chest glowing with an energy ball that he hurled at him. Ha! Reacting instantly, GT Goku transformed into Super Saiyan 4. With a loud roar of his own, he swatted the energy ball away effortlessly. In a flash, he moved like lightning, landing a powerful uppercut to Z Broly's jaw. Z Broly's massive body was thrown backward, but instead of showing pain, he burst into crazed laughter. Ha ha ha! Kakarot! His demonic laughter echoed as a grass-green aura erupted around him. The next moment, he transformed into his legendary Super Saiyan 2 form, his body surrounded by crackling golden lightning. The sheer intensity of his energy was overwhelming. This ki, it's terrifying, GT Vegeta muttered, his face pale. This guy's power is leagues beyond what it was decades ago. Even if I use Super Saiyan Fu, I'm not sure I can beat him. Z Broly's strength had reached a new level. Even though his transformation was only one step higher than before, the difference was staggering. It was like comparing night and day. The other warriors felt the same unease. Their faces grew grim as they realized the power they were up against. But amidst the tension, Broly, their Broly, stood calm, silently watching the chaos unfold.